Picture this. You just placed your dog's favorite meal on the floor. They're hungry. They can smell every bite. It's a moment almost every dog owner has witnessed. Yet almost nobody stops to ask why. Because that silent look isn't random. And it isn't simply good manners. But instead of rushing to the bowl, they stop. And they look directly at you. Not at the food. At you. In fact, researchers believe that one quiet glance may reveal an instinct your dog has carried for thousands of years, even though most owners never realize it. And once you understand what your dog is really checking before they take that first bite, you'll never watch them eat the same way again. Number one, it isn't just permission. So, what does that look actually mean? Most people assume they already know the answer. They believe their dog is simply waiting for permission to eat. And for some dogs, that can certainly be part of the story. Dogs that have been carefully trained often learn to wait for words like okay or go ahead. But here's what's interesting. Many dogs do this even when no one has ever taught them to wait. They'll look at their owner, pause for a brief moment, and then begin eating without hearing a single command. Others will make eye contact for only a second before lowering their head to the bowl. If they were simply asking for permission, why wouldn't they wait until permission was actually given? That's why dog behavior. Researchers believe this moment is often about much more than obedience. Because dogs don't communicate with just their voices. They communicate through posture, body language, facial expressions, and especially eye contact. To another dog, a single glance can carry important information. And after living beside humans for thousands of years, dogs began using that same silent language with us. Which means that before your dog takes the first bite, they may not be asking, "Can I eat?" They may be checking something far more important first. And to understand what that is, we have to go back to where the relationship between dogs and humans first began. Number two, your dog is reading you first. So if your dog isn't simply asking for permission, what are they doing? The answer begins with something animal behavior researchers call social referencing. It's a simple idea. When dogs aren't completely sure how to respond, they often look to someone they trust for information. Scientists have observed this behavior in many different situations. When dogs encounter something unfamiliar, a strange object, or an unexpected sound, they'll often glance at their owner before deciding what to do next. And mealtime is no exception. Even though your dog knows the food is theirs, that quick look toward you may be a silent check-in, almost as if they're asking, "Everything's okay, right?" Not because they're afraid of the food, but because after thousands of years living alongside humans, looking at us has become one of the ways they understand the world. Which leads to an even bigger question. Why did dogs evolve to trust humans this much in the first place? To answer that, we have to go back thousands of years, to where the story of dogs and humans first began. Number three, thousands of years of trust. So, why did dogs begin looking to humans in the first place? The answer didn't start inside our homes. It started thousands of years ago, long before dog bowls, long before backyards, and long before dogs became our closest companions. Scientists believe the earliest dogs gradually formed a unique relationship with humans. The animals that stayed close to people were more likely to find food, stay protected, and survive. Over countless generations, those dogs became better at reading human behavior. They learned to pay attention to our faces, our voices, and even the direction of our eyes. In fact, research has shown that dogs are one of the few animals that naturally look to humans for guidance, even when there's no spoken command. So when your dog glances at you before eating, they may not be asking for permission at all. They may simply be doing what thousands of years of evolution have prepared them to do, checking in with the person they trust most. And that quiet glance reveals something many owners never realize. To your dog, you aren't just the one who fills the bowl. You've become part of what makes the situation feel safe. Which explains something even more surprising. Because not every dog looks at their owner before eating. And the reason why tells us even more about the relationship they share. For why some dogs always look at you. But here's something even more fascinating. Not every dog does this in exactly the same way. Some dogs glance at their owner before every single meal. Others only do it occasionally. And some hardly do it at all. So what's the difference? Much of it comes down to the relationship you've built together. Researchers have found that dogs form strong attachment bonds with the people they trust most, just like they might come to you when they're excited or when something startles them. Many dogs also include you in everyday routines that make them feel secure. For some dogs, That quick look before eating has simply become another way of checking in. Not because they're uncertain about the food, but because you're an important part of their daily world. It's a quiet habit built through hundreds of ordinary moments. Every walk, every meal, every game, every day you've spent together. And over time, looking at you before eating can become just another expression of that bond. But there's one important detail most owners never notice. Sometimes, that single glance has nothing to do with trust at all. And understanding when that happens can completely change the way you read your dog's behavior. Number 5, when that look means something different. But here's where things become really interesting. That look before eating doesn't always mean the same thing. Because dogs don't communicate through a single behavior. They communicate through the entire picture. Imagine your dog looks at you, then immediately starts eating with a relaxed body and a gently wagging tail. That's very different from a dog who looks at you, keeps staring, refuses to eat, or seems tense and uncertain. The glance may look identical, but the message behind it can be completely different. That's why animal behavior experts always encourage owners to look at the context, not just the behavior itself. If your dog suddenly stops eating, seems anxious around their food, or begins acting differently than usual, that isn't something to ignore. Sometimes the cause is emotional, sometimes it's environmental, and sometimes it can even be related to their health, which is why one simple glance should never be interpreted on its own. Instead, look at your dog's body language, their posture, their ears, their tail, and the situation around them. Because together, those clues tell a much more complete story than eye contact ever could. And once you begin noticing those small details, you'll start understanding your dog in a way most owners never do. Number 6, what your dog is really telling you. So, the next time your dog looks up at you before taking that first bite, don't rush to assume they're simply asking for permission. Instead, look at the moment as a whole. Notice their eyes, their body language, the way they look at you, and how they respond afterward. Because in many cases, that quiet glance is something much more meaningful. It's a habit shaped by thousands of years of living beside humans. A simple check-in with the person they trust most. A reminder that, in your dog's world, you're more than the one who fills the food bowl. You're part of what makes the world feel familiar, safe, and predictable. That's a remarkable thing when you stop and think about it. Every single meal, your dog has the opportunity to focus only on the food. Yet for just a brief moment, they choose to look at you first. And perhaps, that's one of the clearest reminders of the relationship you've built together. Because sometimes, the most meaningful conversations between humans and dogs happen without a single sound. They happen in a glance. One quiet moment that says far more than words ever could. So the next time your dog pauses before eating and looks into your eyes, don't just see a routine. See the thousands of years of trust, communication, and companionship behind that one simple glance. If you enjoyed discovering the hidden meaning behind your dog's everyday behaviors, subscribe to the Paw Decoder. Every week, we uncover another secret your dog has been trying to tell you all along.